Like you go to U-Haul, people are unloading their trucks.
Yeah.
I would walk up and be like, "Yo, for $100, I'll unload your
You
truck."
didn't work for U-Haul. You just would go.
No.
Wow,
I
talk about humility. That's humility, bro.
Yeah. Walk up to U-Haul. I saw people unloading their trucks, and I went to like the rich part of town, and I was like, "Yo, for $100, I got you all day." You know, those guys are fun.
Yeah.
So I was doing that, and I was all the money that I was making, I was Googling in the evenings like how to make money. So I started with a mobile home. So I bought a mobile home, just a cheapo mobile home, rented it out.
How much did that cost?
I think it was like $9,000.
I am Josh Galindo. I've built several successful businesses utilizing the one tool everybody has, the mind. I am here to guide, coach, and prepare you. We will debate, discuss, and grow our minds together so you can obtain your own success. Fuck average, be legendary. This is my podcast. What's up, guys? Good morning. We are here in the studio with Felipe Mejia.
Yeah, there you go.
There you go. I nailed it.
Yeah.
Welcome.
Thanks, man.
Thanks for being here.
Appreciate it. A lot of people get my last name wrong because it's actually spelled with a J. So like you should have heard through school. Teachers, Mejia, like it's just all over the place. I'm like, Mejia.
Right. And if you understand the basics of like the Latin pronouncement, I guess, or how that
J just sounds like an H.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, because growing up, Josh Galindo, I'm like, motherfucker, just spell it out. Galindo, Galindo.
That's all you got to say.
Right. Yeah. So I know the feeling.
I heard a funny statistic about names that here in the United States, any name that's got more than two like syllables or just is like it's not David, or if it's anything more, it's just hard to say. Like when you get people from out of the country, like let's say their name is like, I don't know, Sebastian. It's like they mess it all up because it's more than just Todd or Jonathan. They're just more than two. So
I remember
that's funny.
I lived in Mexico for a year and a half and I had to learn Spanish. And I know a little bit today, but I was fluent at one point. And I remember learning it going, God, you guys work so hard for one word. Like a work is trabajo or trabajar, whichever the verb is, you know. And I'm like, in English, it's work. And so I always thought that was funny. But
what were you doing in Mexico?
When I was 16, growing up, I was a wildly troubled teen. Not growing up. When I was a teenager, I was a troubled teen. To the point where my mom thought I was either going to go to jail, kill somebody, and go to jail, or die.
Geez.
And I think there was an argument to it because a lot of my friends that I was rolling with at that time were also troubled teens and ended up either killing somebody and going to jail. One of my friends, road rage, got out of his car, shot a guy right in his chest with a shotgun. I'm like,
Jeez.
Jeff did that? Like, what? And now he's serving life.
Yeah.
Another guy died of overdose. Another guy's been in and out of jail. Anyway, so I was in that group, but I wasn't raised that way. I didn't have a troubled upbringing. Dad had left when I was young, created a bunch of issues around it. Had a lot of worthy issues, acceptance issues, approval issues, all the stuff that you become aware of when you go to a facility like I did.
Yeah.
And so I was, I call it kidnapped out of the middle of the night out of my bed by transporters, taken to Ensenada, Mexico. And I lived there for 16 months and had to rework how my brain worked. And
What?
I know, it's a crazy story.
Yeah.
So, what was it called again, Luis? The Program. Yeah. It's called The Program.
Okay.
And so this was...
Was yours like the Netflix show? Like, I'm gonna go watch
I would argue mine was way more intense because I was in Mexico. The Netflix series is based out of New York, so you're still in the United States.
You got taken to Mexico.
I lived in Ensenada, Mexico, in a lockdown facility with 18-foot walls for 16 months. And when I first rolled up, they shaved my head, which doesn't mean much today, but at the time I had hair.
Yeah.
Shaved my head, put me in a uniform, took my shoes, no belt, no watch. I couldn't talk without permission, get up without permission, go to the bathroom without permission. And everywhere I went, I was in a straight line with extreme structure. It was the greatest thing that's ever happened to me.
That was going to be my follow-up question. Do you feel like it saved you? Do you feel like it hindered you? Do you think it was good, bad? Obviously, in the moment, you probably hated it.
In the moment, I hated it.
Sure.
And the only way out is a results-based program. So it's not time-based. So it wasn't like, I got to serve my 12 months and I could sit in my shitty mindset and just wait it out.
Yeah.
It was like, no, I have to change or I don't go home.
Yeah.
So in the beginning, of course, I was resistant to it as I learned, which again, that's why I said I wasn't deeply programmed to be troubled.
Yeah.
When I hit there, dude, I was like, okay, I fucked up.
Right.
I get it.
Right.
Okay, it's time to change. And so I started working the program probably 2 or 3 weeks in, and tripped and fell and went back to level 1 and worked my way back up to level 3 and then fell again. And then, but what was interesting is I had a colleague that was there, another student, however you want to word it, reach out to me for my coaching program. And I'm thinking, he gets on the phone and we're talking and he starts talking about how much trauma it created for him. And I had never entered that space. I kind of just chose to find only good in it.
Yeah.
And, but hearing him say it, it kind of peeled the layer back for myself. And I was like, holy shit, I think that did create a lot of trauma.
Yeah.
Because it was a traumatizing thing.
Sure.
And the way they treated you, man, like you'd be sound asleep. They'd run in with air horns at 3 a.m. Yeah. Everybody out of your bed, down to the courtyard. You'd have to run down 3 flights of stairs, run out, perfect line.
Hearts racing.
Yeah, man. And then sit in a line for 4 hours so someone would come up. And like you'd take turns resting your head on the guy in front of you. Then you'd sit up for the guy behind you. And dude, there was some trauma there.
Yeah, that sounds.
But that's my Mexico story. Yeah, it's a whole podcast.
Okay, so Mexico's not like that. Okay.
No. What's funny is but what it did do for me, and I always love to speak highly of the Mexican people in Mexico. Doesn't mean folks in America aren't great, but there's bad of everybody.
Yeah.
But I believe in Mexico, like those are the most humble, kind, good human beings. I love going to Mexico because I love the energy that the people possess. Like they're just kind. They're there to be of a service. They're there to help. And of course there's shitheads there too, but
everywhere.
Anyway, so that's my Mexico story.
Wow. That's wild.
Yeah.
So that's interesting that you talk about the trauma part, right? Because I've seen people use trauma as fuel, right?
Yep,
We all know
I
Goggins.
did.
Let's go high level Goggins, right? He's used all his trauma to write some best-selling author books, to just build an incredible life and who he is.
Yeah.
But then there is people that fall into the trauma and get stuck there,
Sure.
right? So
Very
for
easy to
example,
do.
I'm here in Vegas because my brother's in the World Series of Poker tournament, but my dad treated him like crap, right? So he's in therapy all the time. Like he's really trying to get out of it. And like it's really cool because he is digging himself out, and it's cool to watch it.
Beautiful.
It's so cool to
Kinda
watch
gives me
him.
goosebumps
Like,
hearing you say that.
my brother's really crawling out of it, and he's not out of it. He's crawling out. So I'm getting to witness it live, him use the trauma, because it was like, now that I'm older, I realize that my dad really did treat him like shit. And like, what is the difference that you've seen? Because you said you coach. What is the difference that you've seen in like, what kind of person does it take to use trauma as fuel versus those that use trauma and get like stuck with it, like my brother did for years, until just now starting to switch that into like, no, I can use this for fuel to lose weight. I can use this to do better. Like, all those things. What would you say is that difference?
To me, it's just pure. I think it's a very simple answer. It's just self-awareness. Because you don't, without self-awareness, you don't realize that trauma is what's holding you back because you aren't self-aware of it.
Makes sense.
And that was what the program did for me, is it didn't erase the trauma. And it never, I don't think it ever does, because trauma it's like a scar. You can't, it doesn't go away. It's there for life. It's just, I remember how I got that scar. You know what I'm saying? But I've moved on past it. I've learned a lesson from it. I know not to touch the stove. Sure. I know not to jump off a cliff that has rocks underneath it. Whatever the answer is.
Yeah.
So when you become self-aware that trauma is there and you can use it for fuel, I think that's when you will progress. I will tell you something I've learned quite recently. It's funny that we went this direction so quickly. In the last 3 weeks, I've kind of slowed down and had to tap into another space of self-awareness, where that trauma doesn't have to be my motivator anymore.
Interesting.
But I don't discount that trauma was an incredible tool that I'm incredibly grateful for.
Yeah.
Because it got me to here.
Right.
But once you get there, you have to let that tool go. Because I worked myself into exhaustion. I was like clinically diagnosed with exhaustion by 2 doctors 3.5 weeks ago. And now I'm sitting here.
Oh, wow.
And I've, frankly speaking, I was in bed for the last probably, I was debilitated for about 3 weeks. 2 weeks was in bed. 1 week was healing mentally. And then now I'm literally sitting back here, like I'm back in my driver's seat again.
Wow.
But I'm going to make a conscious choice moving forward that I don't have to exchange pain for reward. I've earned it. I've earned it.
And that's hard as men. I think that's hard as men to accept.
Sure.
I think that's.
But it depends on where you're at in the journey is how you can take my message. You got to be careful. Don't if you're early in your journey, ignore my message.
Yeah.
If you've accomplished big things in your life and you're still operating in this space of I have to fucking earn it.
Yeah.
No, you've earned it. You've done big things in your life.
So what is that level though? Because like for me, for example, if I can just
please,
be selfish
I want to hear about you.
Yeah,
we're here to learn about you. I'm sorry that it went my direction.
No. I love podcasting. I've hosted big podcasts before, so I actually love going back and forth. Like I really feel like listeners get more from both sides because sometimes you as hosting, they don't get to know some of the soft stories, not soft, but like the stories from you that maybe resonate the same.
100%.
But where I was going with that was that like. For me, I used not getting into the police department, which was my dream since I was 16, and I was asked to leave 4 days into the academy at 21. And the police officer, and I've told this story before, the police officer told me, like, we have enough Latino police officers. You're welcome to leave.
Oh.
Yeah, and I was like, oh, I'm getting hazed. Like, this was it, right? Like, this is like, finally,
I know I'm
I'm
closer.
here. Oh, this feels so great. 100 push-ups. I was like, hell yeah. Like I was loving this stuff. And then he came after me after lunch. He was like, no, I'm serious. If you come back, I'm going to give you a pink slip. So a pink slip, like this book, was that you couldn't apply for the next 5 years. And the black slip was like, you could never apply again. And I was like, okay. And I was like, well, and I asked, because I knew I was leaving. I had to leave. So I asked why. And he was like, you see that lady over there? I was like, yeah. I was like, it's a woman. She's Puerto Rican and she speaks Spanish. She hits 3 of the licks that we need. We don't need you anymore.
Oh. And
I'm like,
terrible.
Is this real right now?
Right.
Like, I don't know if you're like, I'm bilingual. I have a bachelor's degree. My whole life, I've wanted to be a police officer since I was like 16. And I've used that where somebody had literal control of my life/future.
Yeah.
I've used that fuel to get to where I'm at literally till today. And I've never heard what you said. So I'm going to take that back and chew on it some more. But I've used that fuel to get through workouts, through running, to acquire the real estate that I own. We can talk about that. The cash flow, how I mentor other people where they're like, oh, I went through this. I'm like, look, it's hard for me to like allow excuses, I guess, towards reaching your goals. But I've always used that even till like literally before walking in this door, I've always used that like as fuel to get what I want.
Mm-hmm.
So like no one else is ever going to be able to control or tell me what to do in my life.
That's the blessing of trauma.
But that's in my opinion, that's the right way to use it instead of gone down drugs and alcohol.
Of course.
Whatever, right?
You could have made it about yourself. You could have punished yourself subconsciously with abusing your body with drugs and alcohol and addiction. And you didn't. You chose to do it all the other direction.
Right.
Yeah, it's a crazy thing. So I have a mentor. I had a mentor. He's not in good health today. And when he was diagnosed with what has caused his poor health, he was still totally conscious and functional and physically capable of running a life. It was mid-COVID. He calls me to Red Rock Country Club, this country club here. You asked what's the indicator of when you can stop punishing yourself to gain reward. I don't know that yet because I'm not there in my life. I'm still processing what that looks like for myself. But I will tell you what this gentleman shared with me. He's sitting there across from me. He goes, Josh, this is what I'm worth. And I've known this guy my whole adult real estate career.
Sure.
And I was like, whoa, okay. Had to chew on that. And then he goes, and now I'm sick. And he goes, so the advice I would give you, and this was unprovoked. I thought he wanted company during COVID.
Yeah,
honestly.
Sure.
He goes, my advice to you is pick a number of what your net worth is, pick a cash flow, or pick an age. And when you hit one of those 3 that you've chosen, stop.
So let me break that down real quick. So he said is it either or all 3?
Nope, pick one.
Pick one. Okay.
Yep.
So pick a cash flow goal.
Yep.
Pick an age.
Yep.
Or pick a net worth.
Yes.
And once you hit one of those 3,
stop. Yeah. And his point to me was it was impactful, but it's never impactful until you touch the stove. Yeah. And you got to think that was COVID. That was 2020. That was 4 years ago. And I took myself to the point where I had to revert back to his advice and go, okay, it's time to think about, not not
Either
hurting
you make
myself.
the choice or life will make it
Yes,
for you, I guess.
there you
is
go.
what he
That was the
saying.
answer. Yes, you either make it consciously on your own or you don't. But so you asked that question. So to me, I think when it's time to, one of the three for me, it wasn't age, and it wasn't net worth, because to me, and I'd love to dive into this next, I don't give a shit what my net worth is. I could be worth zero.
Right.
I only care about cash flow, because I can't buy a cup of coffee with my net worth.
This guy's, your video guy over here is laughing. Big shout out to Luis over here, because he knows where my stance is on this. So I'm really excited.
I'd love to have this
Yes,
debate or collaboration.
Yeah. Yes, I will.
Okay. All right. So let's dive into that next so we can jump off this, because the emotional side of life, I think, is so intriguing, and I love connecting. Like it's a special human where you and I we've met each other
37 seconds.
Right. You know what I'm saying? And we can exchange on a deeper level. To me, that's like quality human interaction.
For sure.
I love that level of interaction.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's easy for us to get stuck there, but let's jump to some more surfacey stuff. But so for me, it was cash flow. And there was something that had happened. I had just hit this number in my life. I'll give it to you here. That's all right. It'll be fun to. So there.
Right.
Okay. So it was, but my goal was 100.
100. Yep.
Okay. Per month, triple net. When I say triple net, like I account for everything. No smoking ears, no bullshit. Like fucking tax planning, bookkeeping fees, etc. And something happened subconsciously. I don't know what it is yet, but something happened, and I think that might have been me saying, "Okay, it's time to chill." Anyway, so for me, I think it's going to be that number, and now I'm just going to grow organically, calmly, without force.
So two questions here.
Yeah.
One, what is the fuel now then?
It doesn't, I don't know. Well, I guess to ask that question, I haven't been asked it, and I haven't had to think about it, but sitting here talking with you, what is that fuel now? My fuel now would be longevity. I always made a joke to the people around me, because when I got hit with this, people texted me and said, "Oh God, Josh, I'm glad to hear you're human." They didn't.
I don't know what I would say.
Like
to that.
I was going so hard. People like didn't believe.
Just assumed that you were
like
not
dude, this
human.
guy's a super fucking human.
Yeah.
And it was like, wow, okay. But so, what did you just ask me?
So
the driver.
Like,
what was my fuel?
What's the new driver? Because
The new
as
driver-
entrepreneurs, like I can tell you're cut from the same cloth as me, right?
Yep.
And I'm in my transition phase. I'm at 32, so we'll talk about that as well. But yeah, what is going to be the new fuel?
I think it's going to be longevity. That was what I was getting at. The joke that I always had was, I just hope I live long enough to enjoy this money, because I know I'm abusing in my body.
I thought you were going to say abusing the money.
No, never. I respect the fuck out of money.
Yeah.
And I have
So you
extreme
would literally
discipline.
abuse your body, but not the money.
On a stress level. Not on a substance level.
No, right,
But
right. That's not what I meant.
pushing myself so hard, pushing harder than my body is telling me to push it. Like it's screaming at all senses, going, "Stop, go home, relax, don't." And I'm pushing harder and harder, and I could do more. So for me, I think my fuel moving forward will be longevity, stimulation, and there's always a big part of me that loves to give back to people. I am sitting here with this ability to have this conversation with you. Because of mentors in my life. And so I am really passionate about giving that back to others.
I want to introduce you to a friend of mine. His name is Leo. Huge shout out to Leo Horacio. Leo is 29. He is the only Hispanic under 30 that Bugatti sold a car to.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, he's the only Hispanic.
Yeah,
under
shout
30.
out to Leo.
Yeah, huge shout out to him. He's a huge hustler. The only person in the Amazon FBA space that I know that is successful. The only one that is naturally really, really successful. And we were having lunch. I was having lunch with him a couple weeks ago down in Boca Raton, and which is beautiful, by the way, if you've never been. Boca Raton, Florida is gorgeous. And I was going back and forth because I'm a big family guy. I'll show you my cash flow in a minute as well. But I was telling him, I was like, dude, I'm at the point where kind of like what you were saying, like I've worked really hard since I was like 16, 17, and I want to start enjoying it before life makes me enjoy it. Right. And
this may be your reason you're sitting with me today.
It might be. And he was, and like, I love him. And we were saying, we're having kind of opposing ideas. And he's in the camp of like, no, I want to go as hard as possible for as long as possible, no questions asked. And I'm like, dude, you're crushing it. Like, full respect. You're right. I'm wrong. Like, I'm still going to do what, but like, obviously I can't compete, right? Where I don't compare, you know, you have, you know, all these things and there's a lot of things you can fake. You can't fake a Bugatti. You can't rent one of those, right? So you can't fake that.
I say the same thing about living in my neighborhood I live in.
Right.
People be like, that guy doesn't really. I'm like, even if he rents, he's fucking paying 20 grand a month.
Exactly. So anyways, he's in the camp of like going hard, probably where you were at just 5 years ago, right? And I told him on his podcast, I was like, bro, I just don't want to see life make you slow down. And I love you to death. I think you're awesome. You're crushing it. You're going to impact a lot of people. His high level goal, which I'm going to speak into existence for him as well, is he wants to be the president of Mexico. Right. So he's saving up a lot of cash. He's saving up a lot of investments. He's doing all the things. Right. I'll let him tell his story. I'll introduce you guys after. But, you know, seeing that, I'm like, I hope that life doesn't make him slow down. I hope that he can do this for the rest of forever.
Sure.
But we all know that that's not true.
I have a little input on that, but keep going.
No. What I was going to say is, so like this won't be on camera, so it'll be fine. I'm here and I look for.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
You should be proud of that.
I looked for cash flow always and tried and true since I started investing 7 years ago. Cash flow.
Yep.
I was not recently, maybe a year ago, and this is where this year has been kind of transitioning for me. I was in a mastermind, and the gentleman that was speaking was like, I preach cash flow and appreciation depending on your age.
Sure.
So he was like, look, if you're in your 20s and 30s and you're in your working years and your grinding years and your building years, I wouldn't be preaching cash flow because at the end of the year, how much do you need, right? And he was like, so at that age, I would say buy for appreciation, but calculate when the cash flow is going to hit because rents always go up. Mm-hmm. So if you can look at what is the last 5 years of that asset done, you can, with a margin of error of 10 to 12%, see where it's going to be in the next 5 years without something catastrophic. He's like, so what I do is I buy for appreciation, and here's my goal. He's like, I want it to cash flow by year 3, meaning I can float for 2 years. I need cash flow by year 3 of $500, and then every year after that, it'll go to $750, $800, $1,000, like whatever the market rent is in the area going up.
Yep.
And he said, by year 10, I want to be able to cash out refinance properties number 1's investments. Year 11, properties number 2, and so forth and so on.
100%.
He's like, so you can see why at the beginning, I'm not looking for cash flow. I'm looking for Class B, high appreciating assets that will cash flow year 3.
Yep.
And it kicked me in the nuts because I had always been investing for high cash flow. And I don't mean like the typical $100. I'm talking no less than $1,000 a month.
Sure.
By buying a single family, converting it into a duplex, and then getting $1,000 cash flow per property 30 days after close. That was my thing, right? But I'm at year 7 or 8, and I was like, I'm going to test that theory. So I went back and refied a property that I've held on to for 4 years now, and I only got 80 grand out. And I wasn't happy with myself because I said, I've had this property for, now sure, it's cash flowed a bunch of money between those 4 years.
Okay.
But knowing what I know now, that 4 years ago, one of my family members bought a house same time, and his appreciated like 3 times and didn't cash flow at all because it's his primary resident.
Okay.
So I get where you're at with the cash flow, but I think it depends a lot on your age, how you should make that decision. Because at 21, you don't need $100, $200 in cash flow.
Agreed.
Because when you're 31, if that asset went up $500,000, you could do cash out refi $500,000 for the rest of your life. Because when you hit the 20 mark, then you just start over at the 10 year of what you bought, 10 years ago.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what I'm toying with now. What do you think about that strategy?
So I'm just going to really quickly touch on the very first thing that you said.
Yeah, I did say a lot. Sorry.
That's okay. You said, what does a guy like that do to go hard the whole time? So I was talking to one of the 5 doctors I've talked to in the last month. I'm like such an extremist, like something glitched. So I was like, get me 15 appointments. and I've had blood drawn 4 times, all this crazy shit. Jeez. And everybody just keeps telling me, Josh, it's just time. I'm like, I don't have time. Yeah. Anyway, self-care. Okay. And I will tell you that I was neglecting that. Okay. And I thought that I was getting my self-care through going to the gym because I love the gym for way more reasons than looking in shape. That's probably the lowest on the totem pole.
Right.
But they're like, do you think Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk, these guys can go that hard without self-care? Those guys are like, and then I took that information, I converted it to Tom Brady because that was the only one that I could actually compute.
Sure.
I've heard a stat. My understanding was Tom Brady was spending $1 million a year to ensure his body was in consistent perfection.
$1 million
$1 million a year between therapists, between throwing coaches, between food, between everything.
Yeah.
Well, if he's making $25 million a year,
he's spending 83 grand a month
to make sure his body's perfect.
I don't know where I could spend 83 grand a month. I don't know enough people to spend 83 grand.
If you're Tom Brady, I'm sure there's
so.
you know.
Yeah,
but so what I took from that was
in perspective. I guess
yeah, you know, I'm like, okay, so how do you stay at that top tier level and able to go hard? Well, you got to take care of the thing that's allowing you to go hard, which is the body.
The body, yeah.
So to me, I think that is how those big time guys go. And that's why when we see that these luxurious vacations and this and that and all these things that these people are doing are these dopamine hits of Bugattis and airplanes and private planes and parties and relaxing in the, you know, ocean on a yacht. That is self-care.
Yeah.
And I wasn't doing any of that shit. I was like, save, buy more rentals, save, buy more rentals. And so to me, I think that is how you stay at that premium level, but you've got to take that month vacation with your family when the kids are out of school and go and really absorb like all of the good of life. And I could tell you, I wasn't doing any of that shit, dude. Yeah. It was like, I'm on vacation. I'm Can-Amming up a mountain. I'm literally on Bluetooth with the headphones talking to my office. You know, how many actives are there? What are the solds? You know, and so I was never, my brain.
Present.
Yeah, and the brain is what controls it all. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, you could turn the body off when you go to sleep, or you can move the body anywhere on the planet. But if the brain is constantly going, and I think this is why my mentor suffered from what he suffered from, because he never allowed his brain to stop working. And so to me, that it's more about the brain than the body being able to turn off, so that it can heal. And then you don't get Alzheimer's. You don't get what was he diagnosed with? The shaky one. Anybody? Parkinson's. Yeah, brain disease. Body's perfect, but just fucks his brain's fucked up. And I think that was from not letting his brain rest. Anyway. Okay, so to me, that's how you maintain that high level operating is you have to take care of the body, massages, sound baths, meditation, therapy, vacations, all that other stuff. And then you said...
so cash flow versus appreciation.
Cash flow versus appreciation. I actually 100% agree with you.
Oh, okay.
And I discount that part of my journey because I'm not in that part of my journey anymore.
Right.
So I forget to mention it. I would buy a home, let it cash flow, and every year that the rents would come due, I'd recomp it and see, is there enough appreciation here to sell it, split it into two? I can tell you there was like 5 homes that created my whole foundation of cash flow.
Right.
And they were all premium product in premium locations. And a lot of them were single stories in Summerlin, which I had the luxury of being able to buy at a really cheap price at that time, even though at that time I didn't think it was a cheap price. I thought I was paying, a ton of money. So same logic can apply at any time in life. With time, things appreciate. So I would sell that, split it into 2, analyze those 2, watch those grow with appreciation, split them into 2. But the thing that I think is important to communicate, this is why I was always a hater of Grant Cardone, although he's accomplished a ton and he deserves a ton of credit, but is that he's over there preaching with this humongous audience going, borrow, 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 go buy.
And then 10x that borrowing.
And 10x that borrowing. And he's like telling this to people that don't have the proper tools to borrow. Borrowing is very dangerous. Okay. And the other thing he's forgetting to mention, and he has to mention this, and we have to mention this everywhere we go, we aren't paying retail for our properties.
No, we're not.
And if you forget to mention that, then huge. The amateur goes out there thinking they're doing everything that you told them to do, and they pay retail.
No,
and they're flipped on day one. Yep. See, I was buying shit. I'm a house flipper, dude. So I'm buying, back in 2014 and 15, I'm buying $200,000 ARV properties for 140, 135. So that's the big differentiator. So, and that's how you capitalize on that massive appreciation is you have to buy at a discount. And it's not, oh, I'm buying it at 205 and I'm getting it for 190.
No.
That's not a discount. No, that's a decently negotiated retail deal. At best. Yeah. So to me, yes, in your early stages, it's all about buying at a deep discount and then analyzing the properties as they mature. You either sell them off, cash out, refinance them. Now that I understand debt, I didn't at the time. I was very afraid of it because I got my balls kicked in the recession. I should have been cash out refinancing those.
Yep.
I should have never sold any of them.
No.
But then always leave a little in there. That's the other thing. And there's times to take it all out. I learned that lesson when interest rates were 2.5%. I'm like, okay, I'm going to take on debt. It's a very safe environment to do it. And I'm like, $300,000 asset, I'm taking out 150 grand. Well, I learned a lesson there. I trapped all that equity because I'm so addicted to the 2.5% interest rate that I don't want to do a full cash out refi because I don't want to lose the 2.5%. So the other $150,000 in equity in the property, I don't get to touch. Yeah. Then I had to go and learn that. I found a bank that'll give me second deeds of trust, second position HELOCs.
Yep.
Okay, cool. I was able to tap into that, but I had to learn that. Yeah. What I should have done is instead of taking 10 properties and 50% cash out refinancing them, I should have taken 5 and did 100% refinances. And then if I got in trouble on those 5, I could dump those and I still have all my other ones I own cash.
Right.
But what, was that a big mouthful?
Yeah, no.
So, but to your point, what I am learning today, but again, all this was like, see, I don't know what it is. I don't learn well from masterminds or things like that. I wish I did. I probably would have shortened my learning curve. I had to learn all these things on just trial and error. But at this phase in my career, I am doing exactly what you just described. I've got, I don't know, 87. We bought so many in the last few months. I'm just going to call it 87. I'm going to call it almost 90 properties. But we're going back to some of the day oneers and pulling out some money on those to be able to go and redeploy on new property.
So when
I got a question too for you.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Shoot.
Is the argument, my CFO came to me and said, Josh, why don't we start taking some of this excess cash flow? Because we have so much cash flow on top of my bills now at this point that it's helping me buy more property.
Sure.
It's almost becoming a freebie.
Yep.
We have a little thing next to each property that was bought with just cash flow called free.
Love that.
We got that one for free. But my question to you would be, do you pay down debt and have less headaches and increase cash flow that way? Or do you continue to buy more property? And because long term, that would, of course, increase net worth, make more sense because you'd have more houses across appreciating markets. Or do you simplify your life and go, fuck it, I'm going to start paying down these 90 homes and increase my cash flow that way?
It's a great question, and one that my mentees give me a lot. So I love that earlier you said you're a coach, and I think some of the best coaches are the ones that didn't learn from masterminds, that just parrot, but are the ones that took the L's and have actually learned a lesson from them, right? Same thing. Yeah. I love going to masterminds. I love going to events. I'm just not good at it, right? Like I've had to learn all my lessons the same way you have, the hard way, on the knees, drop and just pick up the ball again, like figuring it out, you know, mistake by mistake by mistake, literally getting dragged out of banks when loans wouldn't get approved type thing, like way out there. So that's why I coach one-on-one in person. I don't do courses. I do come to my house, 8 hours. I need to get to know you, like that kind of high level coaching. But to answer your question, I always, because they ask me the same thing, and I always tell my students this, look, my goal is the least amount of rentals with the most amount of cash flow that are going to appreciate, that don't take up more of my day than 12 o'clock. So I want to be
That's a beautiful formula.
Yeah, that's it. Like if I get a deal, if I get 2 deals and they both are equally across the board, but the X factor is one is going to take up a little bit more of my time, an hour. I got to work on it till 1 o'clock every day. If I see that it doesn't fit into the machine that I've built, then I'm not going to buy it. I don't care how good it is. But on the counter, 2-3 deals ago, I paid 6 figures over to a wholesaler because the deal fit my model. So let me give you
paid for that luxury.
Yeah. No, exactly. But I love it. They got it under contract 125. I paid 225. ARV'd at 370.
Okay.
I think they should have kept that deal. I'm like,
agreed.
How do you let that
Some of these
go?
wholesalers,
how do you let that go?
Right. You should.
And their answer is always the classic. It's not our model. And I'm like, all right, dude, whatever.
You need to create a model, brother.
You need to create a model around that. That's like saying when Blockbuster or whatever didn't adapt to Netflix, say it's just not our model.
It's just not our model.
That's how you lose.
Right.
So shout out to them. Keep sending me the deals.
Right.
Anyways, all that to say, most people knowing that they were going to, and I knew that I was going to pay 6 figures over because it's just such a sweet deal.
Second you saw it, you knew.
The second I saw it, I was like, I'm going to pay whatever for this deal because it fit my model, right? So to answer your question, I don't have I want to pay the debt down. I don't want to, it's going to pay itself down naturally. I'm not paying extra on the note, if that makes sense.
Yep.
But
that's a good nugget to drop. Never pay down extra on your mortgages.
Don't ever do that.
Ever.
No, don't.
Maybe credit card debt.
Dave Ramsey. No, don't.
No Dave Ramsey, that shit.
No,
right.
let it ride by itself.
Yep.
Let what I call the gator effect, which is the loan's going to go down while the mouth goes up. The property's going to appreciate, the loan's going to get paid down naturally. You're going to have a huge gator.
Yeah.
So what I tell people is like, for me, I want the least amount of rentals. So let me break down my goal. The least amount of rentals. It's not quantified. There's not a number there. I didn't say I want 100 rentals or I want 1,000, right? So I own 83 units, which breaks down to like 40-ish houses.
Okay. Structures.
They're all doubles.
Yeah.
They're all duplex. So,
Yeah.
So I always
count it by
units.
doors too. I do the same thing.
It's just easier for me. I don't know. It's like 83.
Because I don't own
doors.
90 pieces of individual real estate. Some are fourplexes, some are duplexes. Yeah.
Doors are easier for me to. So I want to have the least amount of those possible. I'm not one of these guys that wants thousands of units. I want the least amount of doors equals I'm done by 11, like every day, 11 or 12 o'clock. Which I'll stop right there for a second. My guy Leo, big shout out to him. He's like, dude, you're crazy. If you figured it out how to print money, work till 7 p.m. every night. And I'm like,
are you married?
I'm married, yes.
You have kids?
I have a little guy. I got a 6-year-old. He's awesome.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Damn, that's
he's great.
sick.
Yeah, he's great.
Oh, that's a great tattoo. I'm sorry.
We'll talk about it. No, we'll talk about it. This has a great story too.
Okay.
Like tearjerker. 11 o'clock, I want to be done. So first part of this sentence, I want the least amount of rentals. I want to be done.
I have to ask one more question. Does Leo have kids and a family?
No, you know that. You know that. You asked me 'cause
Big
you know.
difference.
Yeah, we
All
can
right.
talk about that.
Go ahead.
He doesn't yet.
I won't interrupt again. Those are my two questions.
No, you're good. This is your show as much as you want. I want to be done by 11 o'clock. The least amount of rentals, but I want to be done by 11. So if a rental comes in, it meets every checkbox, but it requires a lot of work for me. Just not going to do it. And I learned that lesson from when I was in college. We'll talk about that later. Most amount of cash flow. I see a lot of guys that buy a rental property and they don't cost seg it, don't re-leverage the equity. They're not cash flowing because they're not at market rents, and they're not refinancing using a line of credit. They're not doing any of the other strategies aside from cash flowing.
Right.
So what I do is like, don't move on until you've maximized the use case of that one asset and then buy the next one.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I want to make sure that once I buy the property, it goes in the machine, the cost segregation is set up, we're at market rents is set up, the refi line of credit, whatever we're going to do there is set up, and the tax strategy that I'm going to use for my CPA and my bookkeeper are all like, is all that set in stone? Like, yes, it's all like put into meetings, done. I can step away and go to the next deal if I know that at least the ball is rolling on those 4 pillars of that deal.
Killer advice.
Then I move to the next one. So least amount of rentals, most amount of cash flow, which isn't just the excess of the money. It's like, I didn't pay taxes on this, so that's cash flow. So,
absolutely.
So do that. And then I want, like I said, I want to be done by 11, 12 o'clock every day. Because what that does for me is then I get to spend 2 or 3 hours with my wife before my son comes home. I want to give him all the time in the world as well. And then that's it. Like, that's my day.
Bro, I think you're doing everything right. If you want my 2 cents on that.
Yeah, I do. That's why I'm here.
That's my 2 cents. I think I envy that model.
Okay.
That's the direction I'm moving in my life.
Okay.
So to hear you say that, how old you said 32?
32.
Yeah.
But I've also been working since I was like 14, 15.
I'm with you, bro.
Like,
I was vacuuming cars right down the road at Fabulous Freddy's with a worker's permit at 15 and a half. I would ride my bike from...
You need to go buy that sign and have it in here somewhere, dude. That's funny.
Hey, that's a good idea.
Fabulous Freddy's.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that's kind of like the model that I tell people. And I'm like, look, if you want that kind of lifestyle, which I've learned... Do you know Thatch from Instagram?
I've heard...
Thatch Win?
Yeah. Yeah.
Asian guy out of Seattle.
Yes.
So he's running that lifestyle now, and he's in his 50s, mid 50s, 60s, or something like that.
Does he preach that he didn't at one point? Mm-hmm. Okay.
And now his kids are 16 and 17.
Yeah.
So obviously he woke up. And big shout out to him. I love him a lot. I'm running my life now the way he's running it, because I'm like, I bet he would give up all of it to go back to 30 and run it that way.
Sure.
So I'm doing that now.
Yeah.
I'm like, nope, I need to be done by 11. I don't care how good the deal is. I don't care how good the opportunity is. Like, I want to be this.
Yeah.
So let me tell you about this tattoo, and then we'll move on. So this tattoo is a great story.
Describe the tattoo. Yeah,
I was going to say for the listeners, so it's me and my son walking away, if you will, not towards, away.
So it's the back of their bodies.
It's the back of our bodies. You can see the back of our heads, my back, our legs, and our shoes are walking from stepping, and I'm holding his right hand. What happened was we were at a photo shoot, right? We're like getting my son's, I think this is 2 or 3 years now. I can't remember. And the lady was taking the pictures, and my son was not having it, crying, the whole bit, like just not doing it. You have kids?
Oh, yeah,
so
4.
You're 4.
Yeah, you're probably going to get a tear out of me with this story.
So you probably remember this age. The lady legit said, can you just hold him? And I was like, I don't know why. That pissed me off so much. And I said, no, thank you. I grabbed my son, and we walked away. And this picture was taken with an iPhone. It's the only picture that we have from that whole scenario where my wife takes a picture of me taking my son, and we're walking over a bridge. There it goes. And the sun was going down or whatever, and I'm gonna finish it out. But that's the story of that. It was just me and my son, and I'm like, I'll always have your back.
I'll always have your back.
Yep.
That's powerful.
So this is an iPhone picture, actually. The artist is really good.
Yeah, clearly. He did a great job, man.
He killed it.
That's so cool.
And,
what
anyways,
a great reminder.
Yeah, I look at it all the time.
Yeah, is that still potent in the sense of reminder?
Yeah. Most of the times when I'm in a tough decision, I'm like, how is this going to affect my family? Yeah. Or
how old's the boy?
So now he's 6.
And is that just one boy?
Yeah, I just have one.
Okay.
Yeah, they're hard.
Yeah.
I don't want to know. I don't know how you did it.
I'll tell you.
My wife's a rock star, dude. I don't know where I would be without her.
Oh, my girl.
But I can't do another one.
It's integral. Luis and I talk about that. We've got incredible women in our lives, and they're a massive part of the whole equation. You know, there's so many of these females out there that are not like our wives, is what I'll say, and it debilitates the man's ability to go and produce and go and be a provider for everybody. And I think it's a big part of the game.
There's a whole chapter in the wisest book in the Bible of Proverbs about a right woman. Proverbs 31 talks about the righteous woman. There's a whole chapter that talked about how to and how not to marry a certain type of woman.
Yeah.
I was an Uber driver and unloading U-Haul trucks when I met my wife.
Yep.
And now my net worth is somewhere in the 8 mil. I showed you my cash flow. And I'm like, there's only one X factor there. Like, there's not, like, I was Uber driver and unloading U-Haul trucks. And then I met my wife, and now I'm rich. I'm like, like, there's something, like,
damn, I never did that equation. But if I do the same equation.
Think about where you were when you met your
wife.
When
I met my wife, I was sitting on my couch. This is when I knew I had a real chick. Because I had made money.
Is this your wife?
Yeah. She's fucking amazing.
Yeah, she's too pretty for you, bro. I'm sorry.
I'll take it all day.
But you always want to upgrade, right?
Always.
You always want to.
We used to, enjoy life a little more with bars and outings and stuff.
Yeah.
If I'd leave her and a guy was talking to her, I'd walk up to him and I'd be like, "It's all good. It's a massive compliment, brother. Yeah, don't know. I'm Josh. Hi, how are you?
Yeah.
But she's with me. But and if you could take her, then she's yours. But
you deserve it.
Yeah. But no, I've always felt it to be a compliment if someone thought my wife was beautiful.
Your wife is beautiful. Respectfully, obviously.
Thank you. Yeah.
But you know the Hispanic culture, we're very complimentary.
Complimentary.
Is that the right?
Yeah.
I think it's a compliment when someone tells me my wife is beautiful, because I feel like I look like Nacho Libre or something, and my wife is like a little bit taller than me, beautiful brown eyes, just her dad's Mexican, her mom's German, so she's just gorgeous.
Wow, good for you. Yeah, yesterday we were at one of the kids' parties, and this lady, I met her for the first time. I'm looking at her, her come to find out it's her boyfriend, but at the moment I thought it was her husband. Stand next to her, and I mean, her eyes were shockingly beautiful.
Yeah.
And I was like, you have incredibly beautiful eyes. My wife's there. She's there. And I sensed a little energy from him. And I'm just like,
dude,
bro, like, dude, you probably identified this woman based on how shockingly brilliant green those eyes were.
Yeah.
And what am I, a clown to not say something?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Did he take it the wrong way?
I mean, he certainly didn't vocalize that, but I just felt a little hint of, hey, it's like, dude, this is so obvious. How do I not acknowledge this beauty?
Yeah,
that's what I love about a trait that I possess is I love acknowledging beauty. Mm-hmm. If I think it's something that's beautiful, I'm the first person to raise my hand and go,
it's beautiful.
It's beautiful. Yeah. You know where I really learned that about myself? I was at this gym called Fit Club. It's a local club, a gym here. This chick is super lean, shredded, in shape, getting ready for a competition.
Oh,
and
cool.
She's doing her poses and all this different stuff. And I could just see her. Everybody's intimidated by her. No one will go near her. Everybody's like, doing the extra lap to stay away from her. Yeah.
And she's probably like, what is wrong with you?
Right.
Like, she's a regular person.
I walked up to her. I said, you look absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
And let me back that up. Because I know how hard it was for you to look this way.
Yeah.
And I just thought
you didn't wake up that way. Like,
no.
You had to work for
I
that.
thought it'd be cool to just let you know that.
What'd she say?
And she was just flabbergasted.
Yeah.
Oh my God. And she was a totally sweet lady. Oh my God. Thank you so much. And I'm like, why everybody else, instead of dodging you, they should be, you look incredible. Congratulations.
And she'll probably do better on stage because she'll remember, like, oh, the people at the gym who know how hard it was to get to this point have already told me that I'm a winner.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So when did you buy your first rental? or how did you get enough money to start buying? Did you flip? Did you wholesale? Did you have a great paying job that transitioned you into real estate? Or
That's funny. Dude, I get that question a lot. I always show my hands. So calluses, I don't think ever go away unless they do.
I've had it my whole life.
Yeah, yeah. So that's how. What do they say when you shake a man's hand? You know where he's been, or something. I butchered that saying. That's terrible. Somebody's gonna comment like that was terrible. I really tried to be deep on that. But anyways, no, dude, I didn't. So here's what happened. When I was 9 or 10, my parents split, and in our culture, dad makes the money. Mom makes the house. Just no one's job is more important than the other. It's just different jobs to make it work, right?
Yep.
So, and that was our culture. So when my dad split, he took the money, and my mom was left with I think 20 grand that we had saved. And the judge said, basically, you have 90 days to supplement your income, or to supplement a income, or we got to take the kids.
Oof. Talk about pressure.
Yeah.
From not having worked.
Yeah, literally. So they gave my mom food stamps, I think they're called, like a food stamps thing, and a little bit of voucher money, and said, this is to feed them for 6 months, but you have 90 days to show an income, plus we'll give you then the 6 months of food stamps to get you started. So I do think those things are good. Anyways, my mom took the last 20 grand, instead of going out and finding a job, because she knew we still had to go to school, she still had to provide, all the things. She took that money, and in our basement, she put up stick and drywall and a kitchen and a bathroom, 3 rooms, and then rented those rooms out. Yeah,
what a fucking G.
Top G. So she created our basement, split it away from the house, as in where we couldn't go downstairs, they couldn't come up.
Yeah.
I think there was still stairs. No, I don't remember. But anyways, so we had random people living in our basement. And she was able to show the judge, look, making income that you requested. Now, he didn't say you had to get a job. He just said you had to supplement income to make sure that everything was paid for.
Yeah.
So she was like, the mortgage is now paid. All the bills are paid. With the EBT and the food stamps, we're satisfied to what your request is, right? Top G. And he said, technically, yes. So, okay. So I learned that from her, right? Went to college because I wanted to be a cop, like I told you earlier. Yep. That didn't work out the way I wanted to. And I fell back on Ubering and being Uber, Lyft, and unloading U-Haul trucks for people at the little U-Haul store. You go to U-Haul, people are unloading their trucks.
Yeah.
I would walk up and be like, yo, for $100, I'll unload your truck.
You didn't work for U-Haul. You just would go.
No.
Wow, talk about humility. That's humility, bro.
Yeah. Walk up to U-Haul. I saw people unloading their trucks, and I went to the rich part of town, and I was like, yo, for $100, I got you all day. Those guys are fun.
Yeah.
So I was doing that, and I was all the money that I was making, I was Googling in the evenings, how to make money. Obviously, bigger pockets and real estate came up, and I remembered what my mom used to do. So I started with a mobile home. So I bought a mobile home, just a cheapo mobile home, rented it out.
How much did that cost?
I think it was $9 grand.
Yeah.
So I just kept saving, bought one of those. Okay. And then I realized I've never paid a mortgage. And then from there, I went to buying a house, did the same thing, that model that my mom did. But now my model is that 10x, right? I just kept buying more.
But so while you had the first mobile home, you were still working all the other jobs to maintain cash flow, maintain savings and cash flow.
Oh, okay.
So I think that's just so important. People think we bought our first rental and then we quit everything else. It's like, no, dude, you got to do both for a long time.
A long time. So I bought, let me backtrack then. You're right. So I bought the mobile home. I moved in and I had a tenant with me.
Oh, good.
So
okay, you lived in it.
They were paying the lot fee for the mobile home.
Okay.
Yeah, Victor the Painter. He's famous now on my Instagram. Everyone knows Victor the Painter. Yeah, so Victor the Painter is still with me today, and he was my first tenant.
Oh, that's awesome.
He's literally lived with me since I was 17. Wow. I'm 33, and he still lives in one of my houses.
All right.
Actually texted him this morning to paint a house. Anyways, so that mobile home, Victor paid the lot fee, and I lived for free. So then we sold that mobile home, and that was my down payment for my first single-family house.
Got it.
So that single-family house, and I'm still working all these jobs. That single family house, I was living in one of the bonus rooms, and I was renting out the other 3 rooms.
Got it.
So that's how I was paying the mortgage on that guy,
yep.
right? But I was showing income. And then literally it's just flipping from one house to the next, keeping that one, leveraging that one with a line of credit. So I'm not big on refis until recently. I've always line of credit. So I put a line of credit on that house, use that as a down payment to buy 2. Remember when you were saying you were splitting?
Yeah.
So my heart sank when you said that because I don't sell to split. I line of credit to split.
Smart.
So I still have
Today,
the house.
that's what I do. And that's what you should do.
Thank you. I put the line of
I
thank you for validation because a lot of people tell me I'm doing it wrong, but I just feel in my heart that I'm doing it right.
I don't want to interrupt your story, but I'd be curious what would they say?
They tell me to refi.
Instead of line of credit?
Yeah.
To me, when you refi, it forces a buy because that debt service is banging on you every month. And now you're like, fuck, I got to offset this debt service. I don't love this deal, but I'll buy it.
Yep.
A line of credit is you just sit, you're fishing, you're waiting,
Yep.
you're waiting, and when a good one comes, then you deploy it, and you have the capital to do so.
Exactly.
I don't know. I think
No, I know, and
and
I know,
in time,
right.
you know when interest rate climates are right, when the financing markets make sense, yeah, if you could spend that HELOC and everything else on that property into one great loan, of course. But yeah, I don't know. I'm a big HELOC guy. My whole life is HELOC. I'm the
same way.
Next, I'm going to tell you, I live my entire life in reverse with HELOCs.
No, let's get into it.
Okay, you want to go?
I do,
okay,
absolutely.
So it's always fun. It's always fun. This is a good one.
I love numbers.
I'm in airplane mode. So you being more present.
There you go. Is that an AP watch?
Yes.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, I always end mine with your watches. Okay, so it'll be fun. This is how much money Josh Galindo has in the bank. Okay.
Total.
I'm gonna have you read off the accounts that are mine, that are only mine. Can you see that one? That's my checking account. How much money is there?
It?
Yeah.
2.7 million, 730. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
That is so good.
$2,200.
Okay. You can't count that. That's a shared account with my mom.
Okay.
Which is only $5,000. So I don't think I got $1 million sitting there.
Give your mom more, man.
I can't touch that one because that's my CAM account for my rentals.
Don't touch. Okay.
That's my nonprofit, so
Okay.
can't touch that.
Oh, cool.
This is my flipping account, so that's my
Okay.
business. So
Yep.
that's not mine. This is my coaching account. Not much there. These are Airbnbs. Let me just see if there's anything else. Okay, checking. How much is in there?
$470.
Okay.
Is this real?
Yeah.
This is not real.
And that's it. That's how much cash I have in the bank. Okay, so what I've done
So
is
your wife only allows you a certain amount of spending.
that's what that really is. So I have gone to all of the properties that are ripe,
Yep.
to your point earlier, and that's an analysis based on timing and what part of your life you're in and et cetera, et cetera. And I've pulled lines of credit on them.
Mm-hmm.
And when I want to buy something nice, I pull from the line of credit. And then anytime I make money, I call them fresh babies or ordinary income, but new money. I don't read new money. I pay down the line. So if I want to go buy my McLaren, it was 50 grand down. You pull 50 grand from the line, flip a house or two, make 50 grand, pay back down the line. And so I use my lines of credit as a savings account. So everything that I make, I pay down the lines of credit.
Yep.
I make it, pay down. You know, and to simplify this, I have seen people that tell me I have $400,000 in the bank and I have a $400,000 line of credit that is completely drawn. And they're like, I'm afraid to pay down the $400,000 line of credit because they don't understand the concept that they can pull it again. So they're paying debt service on the $400,000. So their monthly cash flow. Huh?
But not paying the line?
But not paying down the line.
Oh, that's not smart.
So they leave it out. So for me, my whole life is about paying down the line of credit. And when I need it, I pull on it. So my whole life is in reverse. Most people are saving all their cash and you know, have honestly, this is let me super simplify this. Let's say that you are an ordinary gentleman, an ordinary young lady out there, and your house, you have 250 grand in the bank. And you owe $250,000 on your house. We're super simplifying this down to just an average Joe. I wouldn't encourage this if you have a 2.5% or 3% interest rate. But let's just say you have a 6.5% interest rate.
Sure.
I would, if you wanted to embrace this lifestyle, encourage you to take the $250 in cash and pay off the $250,000 in a 30-year fixed mortgage type loan, and then go and get a HELOC.
Yep.
And now, if you don't need a tremendous amount of cash, you've just eliminated your mortgage. And then if you need cash, you have access to it. Yep. You can pull. Yep. So that's how I live my life, but on a much grander scale. I've got millions of dollars in lines of credit.
100% agree.
I asked Felipe this yesterday because I think I told you. I'm sitting on like 350 to 400.
Way too much.
And I'm just like,
Agreed, way too much.
Way too much.
Stupid. And I'm like,
Well, geez, in comparison, Luis, I mean,
I don't know that he can take me to breakfast.
I asked you this yesterday, and I was like, what do I do? And I'm like, I think I might just pay Rancho off my property that's cash flowing the time. And
Put
just
a line.
Put a line on it.
what's the interest rate?
Like, really bad.
then
7.5.
okay.
Dude,
I'm so glad you just
that
spoke
means
up.
your money is costing you 7.5
Yeah,
monthly
that's what
on
you said
top.
yesterday.
I said this exact same thing
Yeah.
yesterday.
Yeah.
No, I agree.
Yeah,
So
but I think that the reason that I have it, sorry to chime in.
No.
Is,
Luis Barraza, he's chiming in. Smart cat, knows what he's doing. Always open to learning something new.
I feel like the reason I'm holding on to it, and you know this because I had a really bad year last year. So I'm like, fuck, like that's like the insecurity in me is like, can I recreate this income I used to have?
Yeah.
So I'm just like hoarding this cash when I should just fucking, now that I'm like restable, I don't know. I think it's just insecurities, but I asked him this yesterday, so it came up.
Well, I think that's a great point that you just said there, because you identified the motivators as to why people don't do it, the insecurities and the safety.
Yeah, at least you're aware of it. That's the
Yeah.
most important part.
I had to make that leap at some point also. I'm so incredibly confident in the systems, lines of credit I've got in place that it doesn't scare me anymore. I can live on $2,000 in my checking account.
Yep.
But damn, you're a perfect example of that, Luis. What I would say to do is go down to, I just signed a new HELOC this morning. I'm going to give them a little shout out because they've been so good to me. America First Credit Union. Go down. I'm going to screenshot this right now. We're making moves live
on the podcast. He's right. While he's doing that, he's right. I have about 200 in cash, and way more than that in line of credit. I won't say how much, but I have way more than that in line of credit. And I agree with what he's saying. Like my purchases, my larger purchases, are definitely from my line of credit. And I tell my students all the time that having access to money is more important than having cash sitting. Because if you have stagnant cash, not only do I know for a fact that it's already been taxed, you're losing it to inflation, right? And you're paying taxes when you use it. Whereas in a line of credit, I'm only going to take it out when and if I'm going to do a positive return on that money, right? So here's a perfect.
I got some other rules on lines of credit.
Okay.
Finish.
Okay. No, that's all I was going to say was that, like, I like to have the access to capital, not have a bunch of taxed capital that's going to be retaxed when I use it. I would rather be able to say, oh, there's a great deal that's got 100,000 in equity. I'm going to pull from my line and I'm going to buy it.
Yep.
Anything like that of purchase, I'm going to pull from my line of credit. And the only reason that I feel like I have the cash sitting is because if I at any point want to pay off my line of credit for whatever reason, loan, the bank says, I don't know, whatever, fill in the blank, then I'll pay it down a bunch because I keep it at a pretty high because I'm using it all the time making moves.
Yep.
And if my assets are outperforming the cost of my line of credit, it's a no-brainer for me.
No-brainer.
No-brainer.
Love that. I'm going to throw one more thing at you because I had to live it.
Yeah.
If things get shaky and you have lines of credit sitting at, let's say it's $1 million line of credit and it's sitting at 200 grand, and not shaky for you. If economic conditions get shaky,
Got it.
You go to the bank and pull 100% of that line and put it in the bank.
That's what I did in COVID.
Yeah, during COVID, I
Yep.
did it, and I learned that.
We did the same thing.
I learned that in 2008.
Yep.
I was at family dinners with friends and family who had HELOCs on their homes. Whatever they owed, the bank capped it there and said that was it.
That's it.
And then turned it off. It was something in their terms that they can do that.
Yeah.
So I knew when economic conditions get shaky, I'd rather pay the debt service,
The monthly.
and have access to all the cash so they don't cap it. So that's a beginner's
No,
rule.
that's a huge nugget. I did that during COVID. So March. It's really cool. I actually reached financial independence the day COVID, like everything shut down, and that very next month, me and my wife went down to Florida. She has 4 or 5 acres and 2 houses down in Daytona. So we went down there for like 3 months during the first initial hit of COVID. But before we left, we went to the bank, went to the line of credit, pulled out more than 6 figures, threw it in our savings, went down to Florida, and was like, just want to see what happens. Like you said, the debt service on it was a couple hundred. It was probably like 3,000 total for the whole time that I had.
Yeah, we
cash.
kind of got lucky during COVID because the rates were so low too.
Yeah.
Man, I had a lot of money out and the payment was like nothing.
Exactly.
Continue.
And what I did was I was like, okay, the safety net is there. I have access to capital. I have capital. Like I was able to ride that wave and be fine and not have to go back to work. Where I used that money, I bought one more rental to put us over the line of like, okay, now we don't have to go back to work.
Yeah.
So like we talked earlier, either you're going to prepare yourself or life's going to do it for you.
Yeah.
And I just barely got through that line where life was like, COVID's coming. You can't go. Remember COVID? I can't unload U-Haul trucks. Uber and Lyft weren't doing great. Like everything had shut down.
Yeah.
So I was lucky enough to where I had invested that whole time up until COVID to be financially free. And then from there, the ball just hasn't stopped. I've just kept reusing lines, paying the lines off. With active income from flipping and wholesaling, I use that to pay down the line. Here's another strategy that I've used to pay down the line, because people always ask, well, how do you pay it down, right? Because are you doing $200,000 swings? I tell them this. Maybe once a year, me and my wife will look at our portfolio and we'll say, which property is the least producing? Not that it's not working. Let's say we have 40 houses, and we're like, which one is just not up to everything else? Mm-hmm. We've already captured the tax cost segregation. It's been past the 3 years. We're not going to recapture anything. And there's a whole bunch of other rules, so don't quote me. Go read it on your own. Which one's the least producing egg right now? And we get that one, and we either refinance or sell it and use that to pay off the line. But knowing that line has already bought us 5-6 rentals. Sure. Instead of selling to buy, to buy more rentals, I sell it to pay down, to wash the line of credit. Bank loves me. Yeah. And then I'm like, okay. And then I just repurpose it and do it again.
Yep. You go redeploy it.
That's exactly right.
I like that rule. I'm going to add a few more rules, because I think there's 5 names we could name this podcast. But now we're on these HELOCs. If you do go out and get a HELOC, I think there's some, and you can't use what you just described or I just described. I would argue that we are highly experienced, seasoned HELOC investor understanders.
Don't go get a HELOC and just start buying. Don't do that.
There you go. Because they don't know. Okay, because a HELOC isn't $30,000. Generally speaking, you're going to go to the bank and they're going to give you between $75,000 and $150,000. If you're in California, it could be $300,000. Yeah. Never put anything on a HELOC that that is long term. Or that is like personal property, or that is nonsense. AKA, don't go buy a boat. Don't go buy a watch. Don't buy anything that has to sit there for years. I would actually argue this. If you wanted to go buy a watch and you wanted to use your line of credit, and then you knew you had $20,000 coming in that you could pay back down line of credit, then that's appropriate. But if you have to make payments on your HELOC to chip away at what you put on there, no. All of my HELOC money is all short term. Yep. It's for my flipping business. It's for my my personal life, but my personal life gets paid back by my ordinary income, my rental income. Yeah. So those are some other rules, because I've seen people go get HELOCs and they're like, "Oh, huge. I put a new kitchen in my house." It's like, it needs to be used for buying high quality assets. That cash flow. Bless you.
Thank you. No, I agree 100% with what you're saying, because I wasn't told that at the beginning. Now, luckily, I didn't mess it up. But I only use my rule of thumb is I only use my line of credit if the asset's going to outperform the cost of the debt. So let's say that my property is going to go up, I don't know, $40,000 this year. What did it do in the last 5 years? It went up $40,000 on average. I'm going to assume with a margin of error of 10-15%, it'll do the same for the next 5, hopefully. I don't have a magic ball or anything. But I'm like, okay, will the cash flow pay off the line of credit enough? And then how long do I have to wait if I had to refinance this asset to pay the down payment that I used from the line of credit to buy this house? Mm-hmm. Let's say line of credit is $50,000. I'm like, okay, so if it's $50,000 down payment, it's going to go up 30 or 40 grand. I got to wait a year and a half. And then if everything hit the fan, I can cash out, refinance, and pay off the line of credit. Great. Property takes care of the line of credit. Property gives me some cash flow. Property's appreciating. It's positively affecting my active income, so I'm not paying taxes. Great. Let it happen, right? I don't go out and use the line of credit, like you said, to go buy a watch or go buy, things that are going to depreciate. Because that line you still got to pay off.
Yeah, you got to pay it off.
I wouldn't tell just the average Joe to go get a line of credit and dump it into just anything. I would say if you're going to get a line of credit, pay for a mentor that uses that.
100%. Pay for someone that can teach you how to go and buy a high quality piece of real estate under market value. Yeah, that's 100%. Like the big lesson right there. 100%. Or I wouldn't even go into your buddy's business for 10 grand or 20. No, don't do that. You can do whatever you want. My advice is real estate, and hire somebody, because it's not just your local realtor either. No, that's the other big thing. I have 160 something agents here, and a few years ago I had an agent walk up to me. I just got this investor, and they want to dump $2 million in the Vegas market, and she was super excited. And I'm watching the deals that she's putting them in, and I'm just like, man, he's paying full retail, full retail and everything, you know. So, all right, so that concludes, or that summarizes Quite a bit. So I understood how you got started. You just kept snowballing the game.
One to the next.
How long has that journey been for you?
8 years.
8 years. That's another big thing.
Years.
8 years. Let's do this. It's always fun. This is
not
what
great.
you could show your students.
I feel like I know what you're gonna do. It's not great.
No, it's not. But
should
this
be better.
is a visual. So
it's the truth. There we
8 years.
Yeah.
8 times 365 days.
Jesus.
So for 2,920 days, you woke up and focused on real estate.
Yeah, and even more than that, just one small area of where I invest. So everyone where I invest knows. So that's crazy to see.
It's
That's
a beautiful
really weird to
visual,
see. I've never seen that
because
before.
your students are going to think that they can be you in 60 days.
No.
And when you do that
Yeah, I've
number,
never seen that before.
I do
That's
it. I
crazy.
go, because I've been in the game 19 years.
Times. Holy smokes.
So for
7,000
6,935 days, I woke up and thought about real estate and put energy into and making it work for me.
The other thing that I say is you also got to be hyper focused. So for me, it was like, I know this small area here. I'll show you on this little map here. Well, check this out. You're going to like this. So I'm pulling up my Google Maps because I star all my properties of like where they're at in the country.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. So
Damn, I got to do that. That sounds awesome.
So I star. I don't know if you can see. I have some cabins, but you see the stars here.
Yep.
As I zoom
Condensed in one spot.
Yep. They are literally all in this little triangle.
Okay.
And they'll spread out the more I get in. But anyways, it's literally just here's where I invest. So I've been hyper focused on even the area that I invest in. And a lot of people will be like, oh, well, you should like spread out. And like, I'm like, no, I don't think that's right. I think if you can hyper focus on a market, know that market like the back of your hand, real estate, contrary to popular belief, is slow.
Very slow.
Real estate, people don't get that.
It's
real
very
estate's slow. Day to day, it doesn't change much.
No, that's why it's safe.
So you can see the change happening. And as long as you adjust, so this is important, you adjust like your strategy, but not the goal.
Never the goal.
Don't change the goal, just the strategy. So if you're renting and Airbnb is hot and you want to do a little bit of Airbnb, but let me take that back. Don't jump around until you've mastered one thing.
Yes.
Okay. Because I've seen people go wholesale and then flip and then rentals and then this and then that. And then they jump to Airbnb and then they jump to midterm rentals and they just follow what's trendy on Instagram.
Yep.
And then they get 5 years go by and they've got 2 rentals. And I'm like, dude, like if you would have just done, like I told you, you buy one rental, one at a time, one rental, one at a time, and let time do its thing, I guarantee you're going to be rich.
Yeah.
No questions asked.
Yeah.
So
great advice.
Hyper focus.
Hyper focus. Do one thing, get good at it
before you do the next thing. I'm not saying don't do the next thing.
No.
I'm saying hyper focus on like, can you show me that the first thing you did is functioning really, really well? Like no shadow of a doubt. Yes. Okay. Then jump to the next thing. Have you made $1 million and are you at least 5,000 in cash flow and just regular, boring, passive, first level rentals?
Yep.
No. Then don't do anything else.
Perfect that.
Yeah. Perfect that. Then so forth and so on.
You're right. It's doing the boring.
Yeah.
It's doing the boring.
Yeah.
The trendy
That's why
shit.
when you were, sorry, I apologize for cutting you off. When you pulled out your phone, I thought you were going to divide the net worth by the amount of years or the cash flow by the years. Cause I'm like, that probably doesn't look great. Like, but what people can't take away from me now, in my opinion, is that cash flow and that net worth. Like that's solidified. Work that I've put in 5 years ago, I'm still getting a check for today.
Well, I think a lot of people forget that the way that my life has been, and I think this is the general definition of the journey of success, is I've been in the game 20 years. I didn't know my ass from my head for the first 5.
Yeah.
Okay. And then I started to get some traction and understand markets and understand how house flipping worked and found my niche in house flipping.
Yeah.
Because I was in commercial real estate, then I was a retail realtor, and then I found house flipping. Then I had to figure out house flipping. And then when I figured out house flipping, I had to figure out how to manage the money that I was making from house flipping. Then when I learned to manage the money, which took about 5 years, and then I learned how to start deploying capital to buy rentals to create cash flow to supplement my flipping income. Well, that took 5 years. So my 20-year journey, or whatever you want to call it, I don't know the math that I'm doing here, but my 20-year journey, basically, in the last 6.5 or 7 years, I've made all of my money. It took me 13 years to figure out how to get that muscle strong because I just did the boring. I didn't switch gears. I didn't start flipping fucking luxury mansions. I didn't start wholesaling. I didn't start Airbnb. I didn't pad split, which is new, but as an example, I didn't get into crypto. I didn't get into NFTs. I didn't get into, all that shit. I was like, I'm a boring ass house flipper, and I'm going to become the best at it.
Yep.
And then when I was the best at it, then I went and played with other things.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because then you have your stuff in stone, right? So like for me, I'm now venturing into a couple businesses, right? So like I started a bookkeeping company, and I go back to just like you said, boring stuff. I realize that there is not many, if any, bookkeeping companies that cater to real estate investors, because most real estate investors will hire a CPA or a bookkeeper that are not real estate related. So their biggest job is for you not to pay a bunch of money in taxes, and then your lender won't lend you money because you didn't pay a bunch of money in taxes, right?
Yeah.
This stopped my investing career for a year.
Sure.
This problem, because my CPA and my lender were not on the same page. And I take full responsibility of that because I just assumed that they both knew how to do their job. My assumption was correct. Their job, though, is not.
They did, right.
They did their
It's
job
not your
correctly.
goal.
It's not my goal. I
that
know
was
you're
good.
great. You coach, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're a great coach. I can tell. It was not my goal, their job. So I started Abacus, my bookkeeping company. Quick
What's
plug
it called?
there.
What's it called?
Abacus.
Abacus?
You know what an abacus is?
No.
Yes. I always find that done. So an abacus is, do you remember that little toy they used to give kids that like, they had like the little like rings on it and you could like play, and it was like it's a math abacus in the, I think, Asian countries. Or
Is it like
it's
a puzzle with a ring?
It's literally just, it's like a square and you can move the little pegs up and down on it.
Okay.
That. That's an abacus.
I would have never called
Yeah,
that,
yeah.
but okay.
So-
that's a great visual for a bookkeeping company.
That
though.
is, it's because it's a counting method.
Right.
It's accounting. So
Did you know that, Luis? Yeah.
Oh, you did know? Yeah, it's usually about 50-50 split in the room, people who know. But anyway, so I started that company because I wanted to help other investors that had the problem that I had, where I wanted to be able to tell my CPA that I did need to pay some taxes because I wanted to be bankable. The key with Abacus, though, is we try to find what's the least amount of money you want to pay in taxes for your income for next year. So let me give you an example. If next year I want to buy 3 rentals at $300,000 each, I need to be able to borrow about $900,000 minus the 20%. So about $680,000 is how much I need to borrow next year.
Yeah.
So the lender in underwriting says, okay, if Felipe wants to borrow $680,000, he needs to be able to make a certain amount of money minus debt to income ratio. Just a simple math problem.
I'm loving where you're going.
There's
with
just
this.
a number there.
Yeah.
So then what I do is I take that number to my CPA and say, hey, this is all I need to show. Let's say 300 grand. So I don't need to pay taxes
On
above
$1 more.
300 grand.
Yeah.
Great, Felipe. So then obviously I'm not going to meet with my CPA every month. I mean, you should at my level, and I do, but most people aren't. So what I'll do is I'll take that number. He or she, my CPA knows that now. And now my bookkeeper monthly keeps me in that range. So if I'm above that range, my CPA says, hey, you need to use some cost segregation. Great. Buy a rental, cost seg, I'm down. Back down to just 300. So I can make millions of dollars this year, free, clear from my head, knowing that I'm not going to pay taxes on that money because I just need what my lender already told me, what my CPA already knows, and my bookkeepers make sure that I don't go above that.
And
not
still
that
have the
I
ability
can't
to
make
borrow.
the money. Yeah, and still be able to borrow. If I'm only going to buy 3 rentals, then I only need to show a certain amount of taxes, and that's what Abacus does. Is
That's
it keeps
beautiful.
your books in order.
Man. Is that how new is that?
I launched 90 days ago. We're at like
Okay.
35 clients.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
That's
you.
great.
Our biggest thing is like to help.
What are you
Mom,
learning
investors.
with the real quick? Because now you're in a service industry, the service business.
Sure.
You don't have inventory. You don't have stock. You don't have.
Nope.
Yeah. So, what's the first challenge you ran into with that many clients?
Yeah. I think so.
Because we're in the service space with Galindo Media, Luis and I.
Yeah. I think the biggest thing for me so far has been
Maybe you haven't had any challenges. I don't know.
And the only reason, I'll give you some previous, I started a company before this where I've learned most of my lessons, which is why this one I think is going a lot smoother. But the biggest thing for me, I think, is clients didn't realize how important their bookkeeping was until they came in. And most people don't want to see the true number. Like when I show them, they're like, oh, I thought I was making more. It's like, no, this is real. This is
I
zero
love
when I
that.
say zero.
I love
we
that.
need your books to say zero when we're done with them. They're all classified. They're all organized. We've checked everything, and everything marks down. There is zero. So this is truly what you've spent and how much you've made. Everything has been quantified. And most people don't realize that they actually make less than they thought.
Yep. There's investors in this office that don't have bookkeepers. They're still doing Excel spreadsheets. And I'm like, they have no idea how much
the problem with that is they're just going to pay a lot in taxes. So a lot of times they won't do their bookkeeping because what I have found now after a certain amount, 30-some clients, the reality is, you can give me a bunch of excuses, but the reality seems to be, concisively, people just don't want to see it.
No.
They just don't want to see the reality.
They like the imaginatory.
Yes. Oh, I made $100,000 this month. It's like, okay, how much did you keep?
Yeah. Right.
Minus taxes.
Right.
And I think that's where a lot of people are hesitant to get a true bookkeeper, because the bookkeeper is going to turn the mirror on you and say, this is what you actually made.
Yeah.
But I found power in that. Like,
well, once you get past that initial shock, it becomes like, okay,
what do I do?
What it did for me. When I brought in someone that got everything put together, it really sobered me up. Like, fuck.
It's humbling.
I got to figure this one out. And it was my retail business. I thought for years I was just floating along. And then when the real numbers came in, I was like, oh man, we got to fix this thing. Yeah.
That's been the biggest thing for me. So before this company, I owned a cold calling company that I started with 2 other friends. We're still friends. I just sold my piece out. It was taking up more of my time. I want to be home by 11 or 12. So it was taking up more of that time. So I sold my part off, made a bunch of good money, thank God. And they're still running it. REI Call Center, huge shout out to them. They probably have 150 employees, cold callers. So they cold call for wholesalers.
Okay.
And I made all the mistakes in the book in that company, which is why at Abacus, I feel a lot more relaxed.
Yeah.
Because I know the storms that are coming.
Sure. Get ahead of them. All right. Tell me about your watch.
Oh, my watch. So this watch I bought when I crossed.
What is it?
Yeah. So it's a Rolex. It's the Kermit.
I know what it is. Explain it to the camera.
Yeah, it's the Rolex Kermit. It's a green. Green's my favorite color, if you can't tell.
Yeah.
I fell in love with this watch, and I bought it once I hit $15,000 a month in cash flow.
I love it.
That was the goal, 15. And I bought it. I actually bought it off of a friend of mine's wrist. He came to come walk a property. That property got me across the line.
Okay.
And I saw it on it, and I was like, "There's no questions asked." I was like, "How much do you want for that watch?" And he's like, "Dude, I paid 12. If you'll give me 12.5, I'll take it." I wrote a check. And was like, "I'll take." Oh my gosh! I know.
How many years ago was that?
Gosh, I don't even know anymore. I don't even know what they're worth right now.
I bet that's 18.
18, 20?
18.5, actually.
Yeah.
I just got quoted that for my watch. So I don't know what the retail is, but you know, the after.
You want me to tell you why I have it?
Yeah.
This is an interesting story. So, how hard is it, do you think, to take 20 grand across the border?
I would argue pretty hard, but I have no idea.
Not that hard. So if something ever hits the fan, if things like that ever happen, I know I can put one on my wrist, one on my wife's wrist, and I can do that.
It's like a brick of gold.
Yeah,
but
you can't take a $20,000 brick of gold across.
No, you can't.
So, but your watch isn't gonna really raise an eyebrow.
No, it won't.
So I've thought about a couple things. I kind of probably want to have 100 grand in like unregulated assets, kind of like maybe a Rolex, or that's why I asked your watch, because if I'm not like a tinfoil hat guy, and I probably should be more, but if anything ever happens, I do have my dual citizenship in Mexico, and I know that I want to be able to, you know, if I have to
switch gears and
100%, and be able to take some capital with me, but I'm not going to be able to walk across the border.
I didn't even think about that. You know, you watch like these mob movies, you know, and they all have tons of jewelry. You know what came to mind just now was Casino. Do you remember Casino?
Oh yeah.
Dude, he remember the jewels that she was obsessed with? It was $2 million in jewels.
Yep.
I bet that was, and then before the cops are raiding her, she's fucking putting it all on and shit. And
yep. And then
they can't. It's just jewelry.
So I mean, obviously that's like way out there if it ever happens. But I would want to have a couple more and be able to walk across.
I think that was a great concept though to vocalize.
Yep.
Yeah. Cool, man. Well, thanks for sharing.
Tell me about yours though. Sorry, before we close.
So
I love watches.
This one's new. I think it's just the AP Royal Oak. It is AP Royal Oak, rose gold, black rubber strap.
Beautiful.
I actually bought this live on the podcast. So my mom, no dad, whole life. Dad left when I was 1, sister was 3. Mom raised us, single mom, killer. Got engaged maybe 6 months ago.
Your mom?
Yep.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, for the first time. So never had a stepdad, nothing. Never had a new dad, just mom. And now I got a stepdad.
Now you're gonna say stepdad.
It's kind of funny. I always go, "Where's my stepdad?"
That's
you know,
great.
when he's around. And anyway, so he obviously had a house. She had a house. They wanted to become one. Sold his house. Gave him a good deal on listing his house. Represented them on buying their house. It was a $3 million house.
Wow.
And so $90,000 commission, gave him back all of it except for 20, kept 20 for myself. And then, like I said, gave him a great deal on his house on selling that one. And then, of course, we'll do a super low flat fee on my mom's house. And being that I was raised to be generous, it rooted with my mom. So she was like, I think that was too much, but because there was no discussion, but I would never fucking take 90 grand on them unless I was a brokey.
Yeah.
But so I go to dinner and they dropped two $10,000 stacks on me and said, we wanted to buy you a watch, but watches are unique and people have taste. And so we don't know what kind of watch to get you, but we wanted to give you 20 grand to go and buy your own. So I threw 5 on top of this. I think it's probably worth anywhere between 25 and 30. I got it for 25. And that's the story with this one.
That's a beautiful watch.
Yeah, that was the other thing my mom said too. She goes, Josh, I know you. You have to buy the watch with that money. This is before like my realization of how I'm slowing down and stuff. She's like, don't go fucking save that money. She goes, you have to buy a watch. And so
you gotta listen to mom.
I didn't.
What a great way.
So what a treat. Where can everybody find you?
Sure. So I answer all my DMs on Instagram at Felipe Mejia, REI. I'm sure it'll be in your description somewhere. And that's mainly where I spend, communication time with people outside if I need to give some advice or whatever the case may be.
Where do you buy rentals mostly?
Nashville, Tennessee.
And where do you live?
Nashville, Tennessee.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I live out there.
Damn.
Love it. You ever been to Nashville?
Been a whole nother podcast.
There you go.
I didn't realize that's where you were at. Yep. I've been there once, and that was the story I was telling you about. With so it was a dual bachelorette party.
Yeah.
I was part of the bachelor. My wife was part of the bachelorette.
Was it in Nashville?
In Nashville.
Classic.
And yeah, exactly. And I'm walking by the window because they got the glass like this, and my wife is dancing with this guy. Which was cool. We were young, and we were always big proponents of if someone's being appropriate, and because I don't want to be. We always had these rules with each other. I don't want you to feel like the friend that has to sit in the corner and be married because we got married first in our group. Yeah. And I don't want to be the loser in the corner that can't talk to girls. Right, we didn't want to have that insecure relationship. So we always allowed each other to be normal human beings. Yep. And so I walk inside because our parties, which weren't supposed to hang out, ran across each other. Hung out. And I walk inside, and this guy's trembling, dude. He was dude. I'm like, bro, seriously. I go, first and foremost, I got to give. It was an honor. I go, but let me give you some perspective. This beautiful body, and I pointed to Crystal. I go, spit out 3 kids. So
did he know?
No, he didn't know. No, he was cool though. I shook his hand. I said, "It's all good, man." But
that's awesome.
Yeah. So it's been a real treat.
Dude, thanks for having me.
Yeah. Thank you for taking the time.
It's really been cool to talk to you.
Good. Well, we'll stay in touch. Hey, guys, that's going to do it for today's episode. If you guys want to learn more about the tools, tips, and tricks that I use on a daily basis to maintain my success, stay connected with me through all of my socials at I am Josh Galindo.